but feel good. I can't help but feel fine. Everything is in its place and everything is mine. I can't help but feel good. I can't help but feel fine. Everything is in its place and all of it is mine. Ooh, I can't help but smile. Ooh, I can't help but smile. I'm reinventing myself. I'm me and nobody else. I'm reinventing myself. I'm me and nobody else. Ooh, I can't help but smile. Ooh, I can't help but smile. Ooh, I can't help but smile.
Everyone, please welcome our founder,
Good afternoon, my name is Sue Grace. I'm one of the founders of United We Can, and thank you very much for attending. This is our end of our 5th season, and we'll be starting our 6th season in September. It is my great pleasure to introduce Mayor of Altoona for the past 9 years, Mayor Matt Pacifico.
It is my honor to be here today and be asked to introduce your Spring United We Can speaker, who is an Altoona native and local teacher. Typhani is a teacher, author, volunteer, actress, singer, pageant winner, and model. She is currently a 4th grade teacher at Commonwealth Charter Academy. She holds degrees in integrative arts and elementary education with a minor in dance, all from Penn State, and holds a master's degree in education from St. Francis University. She is the founder of her own nonprofit organization, Bookworms Against Bullies. Bookworms Against Bullies was created to help children overcome bullying by sharing a love of books, provide an outlet for bookworms, and a safe environment to be themselves. She is an advocate to bring awareness to the severity of the problem in society. Typhani is a published author with her first children's book, number 87, Sent from Heaven. She wrote and illustrated in memory of her father, Carl Russo. She is currently working on a book series and will be releasing a second book this summer. Please join me in welcoming our speakers this afternoon, Typhani Russo.
Thank you, Matt Pacifico, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your intro. And I would also she's not gonna like that I'm doing this, but I would like to give a special shout out to one of my 4th grade students who drove more than 2 hours with her family to be here today. So that just was the highlight of my entire day. So thank you so much. It means the world to me. Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here on this very hot and beautiful day. It's about time, right? I was never a small child. I always had a little extra punch, as you can see from those photos. 2 years ago, I showed my 4th grade students that picture, and a student asked me, "Why is your skin hanging over your pants?" As the whole class erupted in laughter, I just shrugged and I let it go. Now that I'm older and wiser, these comments don't really bother me anymore. Even so, it always felt like a crime to be chunky. I loved dancing and being in front of people, even if my chubbiness was on display. My mom owned her own dance and baton school, so I grew up around girls of all different shapes and sizes. So happily bebopping around is all I knew. I had friends, I was happy, and I had no idea what would await me in the near future. There were instances of cruelty when I was a student at Ebner Elementary School. When I bought the same jacket as another student because I loved it so much. When I tried to hang out with a certain group of kids. There were only side glances and whispers at first, but I knew. The whispers turned into audible words. Fat, ugly, loser. After one of the boys in my grade made a nasty comment, I was more cautious about what I wore to school. I'll never forget changing out of my blue horizontal striped dress because my mom was worried it would make me a definite target in their attacks. I couldn't wear what I wanted to because of the people around me. I couldn't just be me. Imagine being 8 years old and already learning how awful the world around you is. Fifth grade is when I started to understand the nasty insults. I could see it in the way they looked at me, like I didn't fit in. This is when I truly started feeling insecure about my looks. My mom did everything she could to make sure I looked my best in an attempt to alleviate the laughs and the rude comments. She tried her hardest to defend me against my tormentors. She even called the mother of one of the boys who was harassing me in 4th grade. I tried to fit in and to feel welcome into the cliques of my school. But the more I tried, the more I realized the kindness of those people was simply a front. They tricked me into being friends with them. They invited me to birthday parties and the movies, only to talk about me behind my back once I was out of sight. 6th grade. That's when bullying got worse. The girls formed even tighter knit groups, the boys were gushing over the popular girls, and all the while I was getting called fat and loser. I will never forget being at a band function and having a guy, who I still remember his name, say to me when I walked in, "As the world turns," in reference to my chubbiness. That was always a favorite of theirs. Back in the 90s, which, can anyone relate? Back in the 90s, when screen names in AOL Instant Messenger were the hottest thing around, this provided them the necessary outlet to hurt me outside of school. They knew they couldn't get in trouble because it was on school grounds. My parents kept copies of printed out threats and emotional stab wounds sent from an anonymous screen name, "We Hate Tiff 35. I knew who that person was. 2 girls had teamed up and tried to use the internet to hurt me. Of course, they never came forward. That's the problem with bullies. They never do a good job of hiding who they are. This was only elementary school. In middle school, I started using my God-given talents more often. I was a majorette, played the keyboard in jazz band, flute in orchestra. I was in concert band, I sang in chorus. I even made it to county district and reading chorus. I was very busy. Little did I know back then that being talented and having hobbies made people hate me. My fellow classmates perceived me as a stuck-up goody two-shoes, when I truly was just a humble, sweet, and compassionate girl. I did a lot in the community as well, from performing in theater, dance, and twirling competitions, to volunteering for charitable organizations. I enjoyed all of these activities, and I really enjoyed to be busy. My parents were proud and commended me for being such a good student and for staying focused and out of trouble. But to my fellow classmates, I was target practice. I felt their shots fired at me constantly, for no good reason other than earning laughs and admiration from their able circle of friends. Somehow, I survived this, barely. In 9th grade, I managed to get past being punched by a guy in the spine. And if you have ever watched the TV show Glee, Yes, having a cherry slushie thrown at you does happen in real life. The day I had that cherry slushie thrown at me, the school day hadn't even started yet. We were gathered in the gym because that's what we had to do prior to the first period though. And a group of my jealous heathens were whispering, chuckling, and looking at me. So I should have been prepared, but of course I wasn't. When the slushie hit, I hadn't seen it coming. I had to call home and have my parents bring me new clothes before the school day had even begun. And I still had 3 years left at school with those same vicious people. I started getting more gigs with my singing, performing the national anthem at Altoona Curve games, Johnstown hockey games, and various other events, singing the American and Canadian anthems in Canada. I won pageant titles, volunteered more, and I made a name for myself in the community. And as a result, the green-eyed monsters tried even harder to ruin me. The cliques were more secure, and the taunts got even worse. To top it all off, there was a new ringleader in town at this circus called high school. She was also a singer, but had never trained professionally as I did. She had it in her head that she was the queen bee, and she made all of our vocal classes together a living nightmare. She managed to get every single person in the ensemble to turn against me, and whenever I got a solo over her, she would throw harsh words my way. Simply because she was mad that she didn't get her way. The guys I had to see every day still called me names and made fun of my weight. On social media, after I had my wisdom teeth removed, one bully in particular made fun of my fat chipmunk cheeks. Now, if you've ever had your wisdom teeth pulled, you know that that's inevitable, right? But to my bullies, it was simply confirmation that I was indeed fat. The poisonous bullying virus seemed to infect everyone around me. The name-calling got worse and broke my spirit even more. But I learned to be okay being alone. I kept to myself and I kept it all inside. The last straw for me was during my final days of my junior year of high school. Most of the bullies, including the ringleader, had multiple vocal classes with me, so when it got unbearable, I sent that teacher an email. A week went by and still the teacher hadn't pulled me aside to ask me how she could help or what we could do to make my situation better. I doubted she had even told the principal what was happening. It was then that I reached my breaking point. One day when I went into her office to ask a question, the teacher had my email sitting on her desk in the open for everyone to see. She had printed it out, which made me think that maybe she did read it and, she was going to do something about it to help. However, her lack of concern with confidentiality was about to make matters worse. One of my bullies read it, and complete chaos broke loose in the classroom. The bully was in my face, screaming at me for telling on her. I thought she was going to punch me, and I feared for my safety. My teacher just stood there trying to handle the situation, but failing horribly. I ended up yelling about how I was done with this school and I ran out of the classroom. And anyone who knows me knows that I am a near perfect student and I would never ever leave a classroom under any circumstances, so this just tells you how bad it really was. I went to the office to call my parents, stormed into the office, asked to use the phone, and told them I was leaving. When my dad arrived, they actually tried to tell him that he couldn't take me home. That I had to stay in this appalling excuse for a school where bullies were worshipped and administrators turned a blind eye. Needless to say, we both did leave, and yet again, my soul was crushed. I had never seen my dad so emotionally overwhelmed, fighting for me and defending me until that day. Fast forward to senior year. Having had a summer break, I thought going back for my senior year would be better. I secretly hoped that my classmates had matured over the summer and learned a little bit about respecting others. I had never been so wrong in my life. Every single class I walked into, there she was, the mastermind behind the worst years of my life. On the first day, she was already making disparaging remarks, and already I wanted to leave. When my mom picked me up that day, it was the first time in 18 years I had ever said a swear word. My mom really thanks me for that to this day. Saying it with a flushed face, drowning in tears, my mom didn't even have to ask me how my day was. Nor was she even mad at me for swearing. She knew I had finally had enough. The next day, my mom took me to another school where I was enrolled immediately. Seeing the damage and heartache being bullied was causing me, my parents spent thousands of dollars for 1 year of high school just so I wouldn't have to be frightened to go to school. So maybe I could have just one peaceful year of learning. So I did have a few people bully me at my new school, but most of it took place via Facebook. Facebook was new at this time, which goes to show how old I am. I found pictures of a few girls throwing darts at a party with the target being my face. By this time, I was achieving more accomplishments than losing weight, trying to better myself. While they were busy wasting time and throwing their darts, I had already been to Europe twice performing as a singer and dancer. While they called me goody two-shoes, these classmates of mine were making poor choices like underage drinking and partying all the time. Between these two options, I would much rather be called the goody two-shoes. I had never done anything to these people but be kind and mind my own business. I was never a loner, I just knew I didn't want to associate with these inhumane people. Even as the bullying went on, I continued to be myself and took pride in being a morally responsible teenager. Right now we're at college. I wasn't one of those people who knew exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I was good at and enjoyed a lot of things, so I couldn't just simply narrow it down. Therefore, I enrolled at Penn State Altoona so I could figure things out and enjoy the perks of college while also enjoying the safety of my home. As a member of a group called Ivy Side Pride, I got to use my talents with singing and dancing. I also got to suffer the verbal abuse of insecure men who took their insecurities out on me. In one song in particular, I had to sing a solo while sitting on a couch, and I think you know where this might be going. When the director mentioned to the men of the group that they had to carry the couch across the stage, well, you probably know what happened next. Thinking I couldn't hear, one of the guys made a comment about how much heavier the couch was going to be now that I would be sitting on it, and how they wouldn't be able to do it. And of course, my response was go to the gym. I was by no means overweight. It was just yet another example of how bullies take out their own frustrations on other people. So my joy was constantly sucked right out of me no matter where I turned. The bullies probably thought they were destroying me, but they actually gave me the strength to rise above the waters in which they were trying to drown me. Bullies will be bullies no matter their age. I brutally came face to face with this fact with an adult woman whose bullying was so severe, I had to hire an attorney to help by sending a cease and desist letter. My mom even had to get the assistance of social media security to help with removing a hate group towards me that they had started. They posted nefarious and malicious comments trying to get me to retaliate, but I didn't. I tried to avoid that group altogether to protect my mental health. And eventually, after what seemed like a lifetime, my parents were able to get it all stopped. And of course, that took a lot from my parents because it was, money that they had to spend to help protect their child. Another bullying encounter I had was after meeting a woman while volunteering for a charitable organization. She too was a grown woman with 2 teenage children who idolized my mom and I. A person whom we helped raise a lot of funding for the organization she was involved with. She became a friend, and we even helped her kids with various fundraising events of their own too. She was always telling my mom what a beautiful and amazing young lady she raised. But then, out of the blue, for some reason unknown to us, the woman started attacking me on social media and posting very cruel things. She publicly humiliated me by posting on social media statements about my looks and accomplishments, making comments such as, "Oh, well, she's only pretty because she wears all that makeup." So just little snide comments. And her friends were posting nasty comments as well, despite knowing me, despite having met me at all. I was still in my 20s, and here I was being bullied by a middle-aged woman in her 40s. I even posted photos of me without makeup so she could see that I was not a vain individual. But she kept it up for a very long time until my mom and I just unfriended her and stopped talking altogether. But not before the psychological effects of her words hit me hard. She showed her true colors, and despite being the younger party, I had to be the bigger person. Unfortunately, it hurts me to say this, but bullying never ends. We, the victims, just have to learn how to let our haters be our motivators. If it weren't for my bullies, I would have never found the courage to solo travel around the world. With each new adventure, I open my mind to new cultures and ways of thinking that allow me to become a better person. I encourage everyone to be globally minded, and if you ever get a chance to travel, go. The more a person seeks to learn about the world around them, the more kindness we can spread. If it weren't for my bullies, I would have never created my nonprofit, Bookworms Against Bullies, to help those going through similar struggles. My goal is to educate, inspire, and advocate to bring awareness to the severity of the bullying epidemic in today's society. Thanks to my bullies, I learned the power of perseverance and strength. They allowed me to grow into an independent and successful person who no longer cares what others think. When others bully you, their hate is not a reflection of who you are. It is simply because they don't like the reflection they see when they look in the mirror. We are all in this world to support, love, and encourage one another, to lift each other up, and to be the light during someone's darkness. Every single one of you is special. You matter. You are enough. No matter where your journey in life leads you, always remember to be bold, be brave, and be you. Thank you.
Seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6,